If I were to ask you this question, what is your strongest, most unique contribution everywhere you go? Would you be able to answer that question? In other words, what is it that sets you apart in a unique way, and a powerful way actually, from everyone else? Hi, I'm Dr. Greg Nelson, and in this video I want to talk about that because our place of greatest power, impact, and influence in the world is our most authentic self. It's when we are living in alignment with that authentic self that we have the most impact, that our contribution is the most aligned with ourselves and therefore has the greatest amount of power and influence. Does that make sense? So let's talk about that for a moment. How do you identify this and what do you do with it? This is one of the reasons I love the CliftonStrengths assessment that Gallup has put out. Perhaps you've taken that assessment. If you have, you know that once you finish the assessment, it comes back with your top 5 natural preferences that your brain is wired with. We now know it's our top 10, so we have the top 10 natural preferences. This is the zone of excellence and competency and power for us as we live our lives, whether it's at work or in our relationships, at home, wherever it is. Our place of greatest power and energy. When we are in that zone of excellence and competency, we are able to do things in terms of our contribution wherever we go in a way that very few others can match. Everyone else has their own unique and strong contribution. We have ours. In fact, as Gallup points out, there's a 1 in 33 million chance that someone else has your same top 5 in the same order as you. What that means is you have a unique contribution to make. So the sooner that you make this discovery, the sooner you can offer that in a conscious way, and then begin to evaluate that and say, what are ways I could do this even more fully to express my most authentic self? So let's take a look at that Gallup CliftonStrengths assessment, what the results look like. How do you discover this? Let me put it this way at the beginning. When you know what your top 5 or top 10 strengths are, then you want to learn the definitions of those strengths. You want to see how they're showing up in your life. So you're starting to evaluate now, what have I done in the last week where these top 10 strengths have shown up, or these top 5 strengths have shown up? What am I doing when I'm feeling that place of zone and flow and positive energy? How can I step into these strengths even more fully? Those are the big questions. Number 1, you're going to evaluate yourself. Number 2, then, one of the things that CliftonStrengths does so powerfully is in a table of 4 categories, all 34 strengths that Gallup is assessing are divided into these 4 thematic categories. So when you look at this table, you have an instant bird's eye view as to where your top 5 or your top 10 land in those 4 categories. Here are the 4 categories. First category, relating strengths. People who have strengths in this category are basically the relational glue for relationships, for teams, and experiences with others. These strengths are all about building healthy, trustworthy, empathetic connections to others. Relating strengths. You move over to one category, we have influencing strengths. People in this category, with strengths in this category, are thinking about broadening the audience. These strengths are about impact, they're about scope, they're about influence, they're about motivating and inspiring people to join a mission that your organization or your team or whoever is. You're thinking about how you can impact people on a broader scale. Influencing. Move over another one, and we have executing strengths. People who have strengths in the executing category are people who just have a lot of drive and energy to get things done, to make things happen. They want to be given a goal and the resources, and if they have those two, they will make it happen. Getting things done, making things happen, that's the executing category. And then The fourth category are the strategic thinking strengths. These strengths, with people who have them, are about wanting to go wider, deeper, farther. These people who have strengths in this category want more information. They love the process of learning. They're very curious. They want to analyze data, for example. They want more information so they can be more strategic in their decision making. Strategic thinking category. So here's where it gets interesting when you start to think about what your strongest, most unique contribution is, whether it's at work, in your relationships, at home, anywhere, everywhere. When you see your top 5 and notice which categories they're in, you understand some of the themes, the energies that are driving you, that empower you to make your unique contribution. Let me describe mine, for example. In my top 5, I have futuristic and strategic. Those are both in the strategic thinking category. Then I move over 2 categories to the influencing category. I have maximizer and communication, 2 influencing strengths. And then I move over to the relating category. I have 1 there in my top 5. That's empathy. So I have 2 in strategic thinking, 2 in influencing, and 1 in empathy. So when I began to reflect on this and say, so what does that layout of my top 5 in those 4 categories say about what I'm all about? What my strongest, most unique contribution is, what sets me apart from everyone else. I started putting those together. I began to think which one of those top 5 strengths maybe the leading, sort of the tip of the spear strength. I call that your core focus strength. Which one seems to be the driving energy, and then how do the other 4 support it? The tip of the spear, and then the handle that supports the tip. Sends it to exactly where you want to go. So in my case, I said, okay, communication, it's an influencing strength. That's my number 1. So how would I put this together in a sentence? And here's what I came up with. I started with the strategic thinking, and I said, I am a strategic thinking influencer who wants to empower people to achieve their highest potential. I'm a strategic thinking influencer who empowers people to achieve their highest potential. What's interesting about that statement for me is that the moment I say it, I have this internal resonance with it. I mean, I just know my whole body resonates with the truth of this statement. This is what I'm all about. I can nuance that by looking at the specific strengths in those 3 categories that I'm in my top 5. I can nuance those, but even without the nuance, that overall theme, based upon the categories my top 5 strengths are in, communicates to me what I'm all about. I'm a communicator and an influencer, so a strategic thinking communicator influencer who empowers people to achieve their potential. I say that, I repeat that sentence daily to remind me this is my unique contribution, my place of strongest, authentic self. This is what sets me apart. And so I want to be true to that. I want to live it. So that's what we do when you can do as you start thinking about where your 5 strengths in the CliftonStrengths assessment lay out in those 4 categories. So let's play around with that a little bit more. How do we apply these strengths in the 4 categories to some of our relationships, for example? I gave you an illustration of my purpose, my unique brand statement. But what about in our relationships? So here's an illustration. I worked with a couple and had them go through the CliftonStrengths assessment, and they discovered their results. They looked at what categories they were. He was very strong in the relating category. She was very strong in the executing category. And when they noticed that with each other, I said, so what do you notice about the other? What is it that you want to say to the other that they need to hear from you? And she started. She's a strong executor. He's a strong relator. She looked at him and she said, you know what? I realized that through the years of our marriage, I have had the expectation that you need to be stronger on getting things done. You need to be a stronger executor. And she said, I just realized now when I look at these results that I'm the strong executor, so I need to give myself permission to go ahead and be that executor. You, however, I realize are the relator in our relationship. I want to lean on you for you to contribute your best part to our relationship. And you could tell that he was actually quite moved by her observation. And he said, so I've always felt guilty that I wasn't stronger in the executing, but now that we look at this and you're giving me permission to be strong where I am strong in the relating category, so I can be the glue for us. I can be the one that reaches out and builds the relationships with others, and I can give you permission to do what you do best. It was a profound moment for this couple when they looked at the layout of their strengths and realized that each of them had a unique contribution to their marriage. When you start looking at your significant relationships as being a team, then you say, what do I bring? What does the other person bring that's unique? And when we bring this together, what does that say about our team? For example, when they had people come over, I asked them this question: when you have guests that come over, what do you think? What words would they use to describe what they experience of you both as a couple, as a team? Well, they said, well, everything happens nicely. She's getting all the executing things down. All the logistics are done in place. Everything happens in a good amount of way, and he creates the relational environment, the relational atmosphere. And they use those kinds of words. And I said, that's brilliant, because the two of you come together. You're each bringing your unique and strongest contributions. And as a team now, and in your case as a marriage, your sweet spot is creating an environment where people can connect with each other, and they can relax knowing that that space is provided for them. Everything's going to happen well. It was a great moment for them. That's what we can do. One of the ways we can apply this unique understanding of ourselves. Remember, there's a 1 in 33 million chance someone else has your same top 5 in the same order as you. So you put two people together in a relationship with a 1 in 33 million chance that they're going to be, each of them is going to be unique. And when they bring this together, their relationship now takes on this unique and powerful atmosphere and environment and impact. So number one, you look at your own strengths and you say, what does this say about me? What does it say about my strongest, most unique contribution everywhere I go? Number two, you look at your relationships. And when people have taken this assessment, you can combine those two to say, what is our strongest contribution, each of us, to the relationship? And what is our strongest contribution as a relationship? And I can tell you, when you do this as a team, everyone on the team, and you put everyone's results in this spreadsheet between the 4 categories, you instantly see what the superpower of the team is. When every individual team member is bringing his or her superpowers to that team, and then you see where the team is strong in their layout, everyone's layout in those 4 categories, you can say, wow, this is a team. I worked with some teams and I've seen them spread out at different parts of those 4 categories. I worked with some teams and they are really strong relating. So their ability to get along with each other is profound. I've worked with other teams and they're primarily executors. They know how to get things done. And you see how it works. When it comes to teams, for the most effective teams, we want teams to be spread out evenly, more or less. We want all 4 categories represented, because we're assuming that as a team you have a certain mission, a certain thing that you're trying to accomplish. So you need some relating, you need some influencing, you need some executing, and you need some strategic thinking. And so that team comes together with all of its individual diversities and puts it together, and now you have this strong team. Whereas one person could not accomplish all these 4 categories necessarily, when everyone's together, you have this powerful presence and productivity that is extremely energizing to everyone involved, and those who get to experience that team say, man, now that's a team that's functioning on all cylinders. So you get the point. It's vital that we understand how we're individually wired, what our authentic self is, and then that we choose to make the intentional decisions to live more in alignment with that authentic self. And if everyone in our relational zone does this, and when we gather together, we can bring something powerful in a way that one person does not bring. So I encourage you, if you haven't already, get access to Gallup's CliftonStrengths assessment, take the assessment, and take these results and look at that layout as they will give it to you after you take the results. And then begin to ask yourself, what does this say about who I am and what I want to do in the world? Well, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.